Camille, can you turn your camera off until we start the meeting? We're live streaming at the moment. I'd like to call the February 29th Athabasca County Council meeting to order. The first item of business is the approval of the agenda. But I mean, even before that, I would like to take a second to welcome grade 6F here with Madame Jones. I know they get a chance to speak to the delegation later, but it is nice to have you folks here. Again, item number one is the approval of the agenda. The items that must be discussed that I have noted are item number 2, item number 3.1, item number 5.1, item number 5.2, 5.3, items number 7.1, 7.2, 9.2, 12.1, and 12.2. Councillor Kaptanek, you're waving.
All right, my apologies. May I please add 6.4?
Councillor Kaptanek adds 6.4. Other items to add? Councillor Kaptanek, Councillor Anderson.
Item 6.3, please.
6.3. Other items to add? Councillor Holland.
Thank you. 4.1,
Councillor Holland adds 4.1,
8.1,
8.1,
9.1A.
9.1A.
Thank you.
Any other items to add? Councillor Gerlich.
Yeah, I would like to add a notice of motion for the next council meeting in regard to addressing the hamlets and the problems that it's causing for the fire departments right now. Or lack of addressing that's causing trouble.
Is that something you'd like admin to prepare a report on, or?
Yes, please.
Okay, let's we'll make note of it and then let's. Perfect.
Yeah.
Notice of motion regarding addressing of hamlets.
Should I have to?
Councillor Gerlich.
No,
Okay, I'll go through the list again. If everybody's ready and there's no more additions. From the top, we have item number 2, item number 3.1, item number 4.1, 5.1, 5.2, 5.3, 6.3, 6.4, 7.2, sorry, 7.1, 7.2, 8.1, 9.1A, 9.2, items number 12.1 and 12.2, and acknowledge Councillor Gerlich has made a notice of motion for the next meeting to bring an item regarding addressing of hamlets in addressing of hamlets. Is there any, on the question of the, is there anyone willing to move the agenda as adopted? Councillor Minns? Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, on the question of the adoption of the motion, all those in favor?
Aye. Yep.
We heard Councillor Wallach say aye. And all those opposed? The motion is adopted. And so, council, if you'll permit a brief variance, I'm going to take a second and share with our friends at 6F. We have an agenda that's got many items on it. Our administrative team writes recommendations for council using their best advice that they have and their expertise. And there's many times that there's items that are everybody is in agreement with the recommendation. And so we use something called a consent agenda. So by default, everything that has a clear recommendation except bylaws and delegations is permitted to go to the and closed session items are permitted to go to the consent agenda, which means it's automatically approved unless someone takes it off. So it's like it's already on the approved shelf. And so what you've just witnessed is my colleagues pulling things off the shelf that they want to talk about in particular, or a few of them where the recommendation isn't specifically to do something direct. It requires discussion at council. So the next item of business is the public hearing. Councillor Anderson, prearranged something with you.
I move to recess the county council meeting and proceed with the public hearings.
Councillor Anderson has made a motion to recess the county council meeting and open a public hearing. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none on the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? And the motion is adopted. I would now like to declare the public hearing open. I'm Brian Hull, a reeve for Athabasca County, and I'll be the chair of the hearing. On behalf of council, I would like to welcome you here today. All of council is present, and I would like to take a moment for introductions in the interest of time, and given that there are no, I'll do the introductions on this one. Beginning on my left, we have Councillor Minns, Councillor Holland, Councillor Chamzik, Councillor Wallach on the screen, Councillor Anderson, Deputy Reeve, Councillor Kapitanek, Councillors Gerlich, and Councillor Cromwell. The public hearing for bylaw 014-2023 is now open. Mr. Secretary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The purpose of this public hearing is for Athabasca Council of the County to hear testimony from interested parties. It is not meant to be a debate between presenters, and all comments must be directed to council through the chairperson. Only one person may speak at a time, and each person wishing to provide input to council will have the opportunity to do so. The ground rules of the hearing and the order of speaking will be the Director of Community Protective Services, Krista Wilkinson, will speak first to outline the background, provide an explanation of bylaw 014-2023. Secondly, members of the public who are wishing to be heard will be given the opportunity to speak. Next, Director Wilkinson will be given the opportunity to present closing remarks or address any of the issues presented. Councillors will be given the opportunity to ask questions. Council will then end the public hearing and will later consider the information received at the public hearing. Council will only consider matters raised at the hearing. Thanks, Mr. Chairman. Oh, lastly, only councillors may ask questions of presenters during the hearing. If any persons want to ask questions of a speaker, they must ask the chair to ask the question on their behalf during the presentation, and the chair will only ask the question if the chair wishes to have an answer in order to undertake its consideration. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
So before hearing from the public, I would like to ask Director Wilkinson to provide the background and explanation of the proposed bylaw. Director Wilkinson.
Good morning. Section 6 of the Athabasca County Municipal Development Plan and Section 4 of the Land Use Bylaw both require an outline plan to be submitted for redistricting and further subdivision in this case. First reading of this bylaw was approved on January 9th. Public information meeting was held by the developer in September. Notice of the meeting was mailed out to adjacent landowners, as well as being advertised in the Advocate. The adjacent landowners, agencies, and title interest holders were all notified of the public hearing today. There were a total of 39 notifications sent out. An outline plan is a statutory policy document that contains policy statements that allows the county to review and evaluate specific development and subdivision proposals.
Does council have any questions or points of clarification they wish to ask the director? Seeing none. Director or other staff, are there any written materials that have been submitted?
Yes, I have some referral comments from some of the agencies that were given notice of this public hearing. The first one is from TC Energy. They responded, this plan will see the creation of 3 new parcels, and only the eastern parcel will be within the pipeline assessment area. No new crossings will be required for this outline plan to be adopted. Please continue to keep us informed about this project and any future policy, land use, subdivision and development activities in proximity to a TC Energy pipeline and facility. The second one is a response from our agricultural department here at the county. Lake and area to the west are lowlands, should get south end of lot 1 checked for wetland status as tool online is not accurate. Next one is from Fortis. Fortis, Alberta has no concerns. North Parkland Power Co-op. We have reviewed the proposal and have determined there is no conflict for North Parkland Power Co-op. Next one is from Alberta Environment. Forestry and Parks Lands Delivery have no concerns with the bylaw amendment. When the time comes for subdivision as stated in the outline plan, we would like to be referred as there are possible wetlands in lot 1 and lot 2. We would recommend that a wetland assessment be completed at that time to determine the extent of the wetland, to determine the proper setback as defined in the guidance document. And the last one that I have is Apex Utilities has no objection to the proposed, to the proposal described in the file mentioned above.
I'll now call upon persons wishing to speak. Is there anybody present online or in person that wants to speak to the bylaw? Don't see anybody online. I assume none of our guests want to speak to this bylaw? Nope. Does council have any questions or points of clarification? Councillor Mintz.
Yeah, I'd like to commend environment for actually standing up for wetlands and that we're finding out more and more of that they're a very important part of our ecosystem. So there will be assessments done on this prior to this going forward.
Yes, for sure. At the time of subdivision or any development, we would again refer to Alberta Environment and request a study if it's noted.
Perfect. Thank you.
Are there any other questions from council? Seeing none. Is there anyone else who has not spoken and wishes to speak? Does council have any final points of questions or clarifications? At this time, does council have, any questions of speakers or staff? That doesn't really apply. Does anyone feel that they have not been fairly heard? Okay. There being no further testimony, I'll close the public hearing, and I further advise that council cannot receive any further information on this matter. Thank you for attending the public hearing. I declare the public hearing closed at 9:42 a.m. We will now resume the regular meeting of Athabasca County Council. Check mark. Councillor Holland, you asked for the minutes to be on the agenda.
Thank you very much. Just on page 6 of our agenda, I was going to double check on resolution CC 24-62. The motion carried mentions 5, the opposed mentions 3. And I believe we had everyone in the room at that time, so I believe it should be 5-4, but wanted to put that out there for confirmation.
Unless we voted when Councillor Cromwell was absent in that 1 minute.
You did not.
We did not. So if there is no objection, we'll ask the recording secretary to amend that to the count to 5-4 so that it met to align with the attendance at the meeting. Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. No objection to that item. I just wanted to note that the items that were carried on the consent agenda all indicate that they were unanimously carried, and yet when that vote took place, it was 6-3.
Okay. So we should, so the I don't know if your microphone was on, Councillor, but the comment was the minutes reflect items from the consent agenda being carried unanimously, but they should be recorded as having a count of 6 and 3. So every item that was approved on the consent agenda is carried by a vote of 6 to 3. Sorry, because consent had a 6-3 split, everything that got approved by consent has a 6-3 split. Yep, good catch. Is that reasonable, Ms. Blair? With those 2 amendments, is there any further comments on the minutes? It would be appropriate to have a motion to adopt as amended. Councillor Cromwell has moved that the minutes be adopted as amended. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none on the question of the adoption of the minutes as amended, all those in favor? All those opposed? And I heard an aye. Thank you. The motion is adopted. And almost right to the minute, we now have a delegation from the grade 6 French class. Welcome. Our process with delegations is typically to begin by introducing council. And then once we've done that, the floor, we turn it over to our delegation and Madame Jones and Ms. Carmen. So to begin with, because we live stream and record, it's important to have the microphone pointed at you, but it's got really good reception, so you don't have to have it right in your mouth to talk. There's a little button at the bottom, and when you turn it on, you'll see a red light, and people behind you will see a red light on this end. So we'll know that your microphone is on. Beginning on my right, we'll start with introductions.
Well, good morning. Welcome. Thank you for being here. Gary Cromwell, Division 6. So the very, very far north, up and including Wandering River. And as I tell Madame Jones every year, I will only answer questions for children that come from my division. And every year it doesn't happen. So I welcome the questions from you and thank you very much for being here.
Good morning. I was going to try and wing it in French to begin with, but I thought better of it. So I'll just say good morning and welcome. My name is Joe Gerlach from Division 1 in the deep south of the county.
Oh, sorry.
No.
I want it on.
Well, because I'm so quiet, you know. Hello, everyone. I'm Natasha Kaptanic from Division 2, which is Collington, Minook, and New Pine Creek. And I think I see one of my neighbors hiding in the crowd over there. But we welcome you and always excited. This is my favorite day of the year.
Good morning. My name is Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is the Boyle area.
And we've met in the hallway. I'm Brian Hall. I'm the Reeve. I was elected in Division 4, which is down southwest Athabasca, all the way almost to Perry. On the screen, Councillor Holland was with us. She's going to be absent for a few minutes. Or Councillor, sorry, yeah, I was looking at you and you know how that brain thing works. Councillor Wallach was on the screen. Councillors are permitted to attend a number of meetings by Zoom if we'd rather have people here than away. And she is from Division 9, which is everywhere north of the river. That's the boundaries for Councillor Wallach's neighborhood. Good.
Hi and welcome. Kelly Chamzik. I'm from Division 7, Grassland, Atmore, and Crossfeed areas.
Good morning, and thank you so much for being here. Welcome. My name is Tracy Holland. I'm Division 5, which is east of Athabasca, and that includes Parkview, includes Amber Valley, Paxton areas. Thank you again for being here. It is one of my favorite days as well.
Good morning. Welcome. And name's Rob Mintz. I'm Counselor Division 8, Baptiste Lake, Island Lake area.
And then following around the table, we have our communications coordinator, Mr. Schinkelberg. We have Ms. Blair, the recording secretary, and the chief administrative officer, the real boss of the county, Mr. Beck. Madame Jones, the floor is yours.
Once again, I'd like to thank you for hosting my class. This is an amazing learning opportunity for them. Every year they tell me we always remember those meetings and it sinks in really, really profoundly into their level of learning and understanding of local government. So thank you once again.
So my son said that too, and he said, I can't believe how dull it is. He said, I have a new respect for what you do. That's boring stuff. So Carmen, if you just tilt it down just a little bit, it'll make sure everybody hears you well. Perfect. Thank you.
Esteemed County of Athabasca councilors and CAO, my name is Carmen Froze and I live in near town Caltire. I am a student of 6F at Landing Trail Intermediate School. The students of 6F and Madame Jones would like to thank you all very much for taking time out of your busy schedule to meet with us and help us develop a better understanding of the structure and function of local government. Hello, my name is Connor Fitzmaurice. I live in town near Caltire. Councillor Gerlach, we know this is not your first time elected to council. What has changed in our county since you were first elected to county council?
Good morning, and thank you for the question. Things have changed significantly. I was first elected in 1989, which you may not recall much about that time. But at any rate, at that time, the county of Athabasca also had the school board, or the school system was a committee of council. So at that time, you were a county councillor as well as a school board member. And that changed in the early 90s when Aspen View was formed, and it amalgamated Smoky Lake and Thorhild and whatever into this jurisdiction. So that took quite a bit of the responsibility away from the councillors. And then I suppose there are dozens of things that have changed, but probably one of the most significant things is that there are probably 50% less active farms in the county now than there were. The residences are still there, but they're mostly country residential, and the farmers are way bigger, and that's changed. Demographic is a big word, but the demographics of the county to a significant amount. And I think I'll just leave it with that. Thank you.
What did your computer look like in that time, Counselor?
Right.
Hello, my name is Landon Boucher. I live north of town near the river. Councillor Anderson, how long have you lived in the Athabasca region? What made you decide to put your name forward as candidate for county council?
Thank you. I was actually born in Boyle and have lived in Athabasca County my entire life, with the exception of a few years away pursuing post-secondary education. So about 30 years now. It's been wonderful. It's very much my home. And I was encouraged to pursue a position on council by multiple members of the community who repeatedly phoned and stopped at my house and made sure my father knew that this would be a good fit for me. So.
Good. Okay, that's good to know. Thank you, Landon. And I just want to make sure Councillor Wallach is no longer with us. Is that right?
She
Yeah.
is not.
Okay, thank you.
Well, she's she's not in the meeting.
Yes. Okay, but should Landon ask his questions to Councillor Wallach then?
No,
Okay. Okay. Sounds
yeah,
good.
we
Okay,
got it
perfect.
sorted.
Okay, thank you.
Hello, my name is August Surrey. I live in Division 2, Councillor Capitaniak. What is the best part of being a county councillor?
Best part. Good question. And I thought about that, and there's lots of really, really cool things and interesting things, but when it comes down to it, the best part is people. And that is also the most important part. Getting to know people better, being honored with their trust to be able to listen to people's ideas and concerns. Sometimes it might also be the hardest part, but at the end of the day, it's still the best. And I would also add to that, that as a counselor, you get invited to a lot more things like birthday parties and weddings. And so when it comes down to it, I see a lot of people, but I really enjoy it. Thanks for asking.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is
Move in a little closer. There we go.
Hello, my name is Aria Major. I live in town near the fire station. Councillor Holland, what is the worst part of being a county councillor?
Hi, thank you so much for your question. I would have to say, the worst part of being a county councillor is not being able to be in more than one place at one time. Quite often there's more than one meeting or event happening at the same time, and we can't attend all of them. So I hope that answers your question.
That's great.
Thank you so much.
Hello, my name is Ariana Smith. I live in Division 4. Reeve Hall, do you have another form of employment? If so, is it difficult to have two jobs?
Thanks for coming, Ariana. Council is meant to be a part-time role. That's how it was advertised in the brochure when we all applied. Some people do come to the table retired. Some people and others are still working and try to balance that with their responsibilities to council and another job. And so, you know, around our group, there's a mix of those situations, and I'm one of the folks that has another job. And there are certainly times when the workload is intense, but I find with family support and working with good people around you, and good planning, it's manageable, and sometimes it's manageable by working till 1 a.m, but that's not more than a couple days a week. Anyway, thanks for coming out.
Thank you. That's very useful for them.
Hello,
Just move in a little closer.
Hello, my name is Jordan Hosford. I live in town near LTIS. Councillor Cromwell, as councillor, how often do you receive phone calls and email from county residents?
Well, Jordan, thank you very much. You know, it really depends on what we're dealing with, what we're talking about, what bylaws might be coming up. Is it tax time? Is there a policy or something we're looking at changing or implementing? It's very much dependent on what the residents feel will impact their day-to-day lives. But if I had to maybe average it out for you, I would say right now I get 2 emails and 2 phone calls a week. That's not counting having that coffee time chat at the gas station when you're filling up your vehicle, or being in the grocery store and having your wife stare at you for half an hour while you were talking about county business going, let's go. But understanding that what we do is people. And one of the great things is the residents that I have up in the north, a lot of them know I'm not a morning person. I'm a really late at night person. And I get phone calls sometimes 11:30, 11:45 from the people that I know that want to talk about something, because that's their quiet time and that's my quiet time. So it's very much dependent, again, like I said, on what we're going on. I hope that helps you a little bit.
Very much. Thank you. I'm gonna have the students move to this seat just because I think they can get a little closer to this mic. That's okay. Thank you, Jordan. Oh, there we go. Okay, perfect. I didn't realize that. Perfect. Yes, perfect. Thank you very much.
Good morning, Anders.
Hello, my name is Anders Lundell. I live in Cornwall in town. Councillor Chamzak, is it difficult to run for election, and what did you do to encourage the electorate to vote for you?
Hi there and welcome. Well, I was myself. I made myself available as I could for any questions or concerns. I volunteer a lot in the community, so I'm pretty easily available. I also campaigned door to door, stopped at our local coffee shops, and spoke of the things that we'd like to see and that I'd like to see in the future in the county, and attended as many events as possible. And I always try to keep all lines of communication open. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brinley Haru. I live in Aspen Ridge Estates. Councillor Anderson, at the latest count, how many people reside in the county of Athabasca?
Morning. I believe the latest count that I could find on the Government of Alberta's website listed approximately 7,600 people residing in Athabasca County. And of course, we have many other seasonal residents that enjoy our community and consider it their second home. So there'd be many more people than that in our area.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Hello, my name is Duncan Byers. I live in Cornwall in town. Councillor Gerlach, what is the largest expense for the county of Athabasca? What are other significant expenses for the county?
Okay, thank you. Looking very sharp this morning. Uh, Yes, I think undoubtedly, as you can imagine, the biggest expense is the road network. Because if there wasn't a road network, you wouldn't make it to school. And it connects everybody together and it requires daily maintenance, the maintenance and is going on as we speak. So that would be definitely the largest expense. Because people have to be able to get from one place to another as safely as possible. And there are so many impediments when it gets slippery or when it rains and the roads get really rough. You have to try and keep them in as good a shape as you possibly can for people's safety. And I was going to tell you how many kilometers of road we have, but I think Mr. Mins is going to answer that in the next question, so I won't steal that from him. And there are just a number of services that the county provides for its ratepayers, especially in recreation with supporting recreation facilities and campgrounds and those types of things. And support to the hamlets to help the hamlets survive because things have changed so much in the last area, and it's very hard for small communities to raise the kind of funds it takes to keep their buildings open and their communities functioning properly. So those would just be some of the more important ones, I think.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Noah Cargis. I live in Division 8. Councillor Mins, approximately how many kilometers of road does the county have to maintain? This year, when it has been a low snow year, is the county able to save some money?
Great question. You actually hit something that I'm very passionate on. So we have a few minutes here. We have approximately 2,400 kilometers of road to maintain in Athabasca County. And I can honestly tell you at this point, I've driven every kilometer of them roads. There's 14 grader areas. 13 are operated by the county. We own the graders. One is operated by a contractor up north in the Wandering River area. Out of the 2,400 kilometers of road, we have 80 kilometers of paved or oiled hard surface roads and an airstrip, the municipal airstrip. And they are maintained in the wintertime by 4 tandem plow trucks and plow sander trucks. 2 have wings on them to be able to, for safety and on the shoulder of the roads. Also have 2-ton plow sanders and 1 snow blower that maintains the airport itself too. So there's 2,400 kilometers of road to maintain to get everybody around. The second question regarding, are we saving any money? Yes, we are. We are actually saving money. It's every time the grader goes around in the wintertime and removes snow, there's always a little bit of gravel that comes off, and it's just what happens. You can't stop that. The only way you can stop that is by actually leaving ice on, and nobody wants to drive on ice. So we're saving money in gravel. We're saving money on wear and tear of the machines and all that. But on the other side, as we're saving money there, it's the best time right now with the lack of snow and that is to be brushing road allowances, taking the trees back. And that's just another form of maintenance on our roadways. And with taking the trees back and redefining the ditches and that, you're actually maintaining the road still. So there's positives to the lack of snow and there's negatives. And that's just Mother Nature. We can't compete with her. But thank you for that question.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I actually had all of that in my answer too, but I.
Hello, my name is Ali Lewis. I live in Division 1 and 9. Mr. Beck, what are the main sources of revenue for the county of Athabasca?
Thank you for that question. So like a lot of rural municipalities, our main sources of revenue are fees and charges that people pay to us to use services, or grants from other levels of government or other groups, or even private companies now and then. We get a grant to do a project. Partnerships, so we have partnerships with other places, even the towns and villages, that can be a source of revenue to us. But the main source of revenue is property taxes in most communities, and that's where, based on the value of your property, generally, you pay an amount towards the county to deliver all the road services and everything else that we just talked about. So those are the main groups of revenue sources.
Hello, my name is August Surrey. I live in Division 2. Counselor Anderson, what are some of the most important services the county of Athabasca provides to its residents?
Thank you. With my background, I tend to lean towards believing that our infrastructure services, like maintaining our roads and bridges, are the most important service that we can provide to our residents, simply because it affects almost every resident within our community, as well as the majority of our visitors. However, with more time on council, I have grown to appreciate the variety and scope of the multitude of services that the county does provide, and the importance of many of them, such as emergency management and emergency response, community services such as FCSS, libraries, community transportation, which I had no idea was utilized as much as it is until I sat at this table, and a variety of our recreation services such as campgrounds, the funding for a variety of recreation facilities, and the supports that we provide to help maintain our community halls and different other community facilities that so many of us utilize without truly understanding the amount of maintenance required to keep them operational in our community.
Hello, my name is Ariana Smith. I live in Division 4. Reeve Hall. We know you were elected as counselor. How did you become Reeve? What is different about the role of the Reeves?
It'll be nice to say we used a sorting hat, but but no. In Alberta, municipalities are really viewed as children of the province. So as you're studying your levels of government, we exist because the province says we can exist. And so there's two basic ways that a reeve or a mayor in some communities is selected, and one of them is by election at large, so from across the whole municipality, and that would be more like in the town. And then the other is by election from the council table. And so Athabasca County selects the reeve by a vote of councillors once per year. We have a meeting and council makes nominations and votes. And so you asked what is different. And I think it's easier to answer that by starting with what's the same. And everybody at the table has the same value in their opinion and their voice. Everybody at the table has only one vote when we decide something. So that's all the same, but the differences come in. The reeve has a couple of different responsibilities. The reeve is required to chair meetings when present, and is the only one actually that on their own initiative can convene a meeting of council. For any other circumstance, it has to be done by a larger group. The reeve tends to be the official spokesperson for council, and so on some issues, when a decision is made, you actually don't have the person in that role doesn't have their own opinion. They only have the opinion of council. So you have a little bit, maybe less ability to share your view. And because they have the requirement is to support the role of council. So the other The other thing that I think, and I mentioned this last year to the group, that's interesting, the role of the reeve is a position that can be empty on a council. It's in the act that sets up municipalities, it's called the chief elected official, and so the names are varied, but the job is the same. But it's more interesting to me that we are required at all times to have the role of the deputy chief elected official filled. That one can never be vacant. So you can imagine in some communities, the mayor might resign and it's an election at large, you wait for a by-election, but the deputy chief elected official has to be filled all the time. Yeah, anyway, that's a long answer, but we're governed by the province, and it's you're selected by your colleagues, and once you're here, you hope to earn their trust. Good question.
Thank you.
Hello, my name is Brinley Haru. I live in Division 5. Councillor Holland, what does the council do during their meetings?
Hi, Brinley. Thank you so much for your question. Favorite part is to have you guys here as part of our meetings, but I'll go into a little bit of detail. I'll start first with one of Alberta's largest pieces of legislation, which is the Municipal Government Act. And it has, we also call it the MGA for short. It also has over 700 sections that we have to understand and learn. And it lays the foundation for how municipalities operate, how municipal councils function, and how citizens can work with their municipalities. So in the MGA, it says that councillors have a duty, they have several duties, but then this one in specific is to consider the welfare and interests of the county as a whole, and bring to council's attention anything that would promote the welfare or interests of the county. So saying that, during a public meeting like we're having here now, council will make decisions for our county by passing bylaws, policies, and resolutions approved or passed by a majority vote. I hope that answers your question.
Hello, my name is Anders Lindell. I live in town. Councillor Cromwell, what are other important roles of the councillors?
Well, thank you very much. Anders, you picked a very interesting question. You've heard around the room from my peers a lot of the different things that we do and how we operate. So I'm going to give you a little bit more of a dive in on that with a little bit of a twist on how I see it. Really, it's a huge question. And one of the most important roles of a county councillor is that you have to be there. You have to be the voice of your residents, and they have to be heard. Your residents want to be treated fairly. They want to know that their concerns are your concern. Now, we're realizing how large of an area Athabasca County is. The concerns that Councillor Gerlach's residents down in Division 1 are going to be very different than perhaps what Councillor Mintz has in Division 8, or than what Division 6 has up in the far north. Geographically, we are very, very different entities. Our relation to essential services is very different. How close we are to a hospital or fire response, EMS, having an ambulance be able to come out, getting a plow truck, as Councillor Mintz told you the inventory of our entire county during his session there. We learned what we have for tandem plow trucks, and realizing how long it may take for one of those 4 plow trucks to do one part of the county and then get to the other. So that leads to your residents wanting equality. Everyone wants to be treated as if everything is fair around the board. Recently, we made a change to our dust control policy. And I shared a little bit of good news here with my peers that we actually got a compliment from a ratepayer who was very, very happy. And he said to me, Gary, I'm going to pay more, but it's fair. And he was happy because now everything was being treated equally across the board. All right. So again, that leads into building up the trust of your residents, of the people, and of the peers that you work with. And realizing that making the right decision can be making a very hard decision. And as Captain Spock would tell you, if you ever watched Star Trek, the needs of the many outweigh the needs of the one or the few. All right, I don't get to quote Captain Spock very often, so let me take it here, all right? Now, lastly, I'm going to close with that realizing how quickly issues come up and making sure that you address the needs of the county as a whole quickly and appropriately. And I cannot forget, of course, as the chair of the Budget Finance Committee would tell me, budget. Budget is probably the single most important thing that we do outside of people, because we control all of the county's money, what comes in and what goes out. So budget and keeping taxes at an appropriate and fair level for the people is a very vital role. You don't want to have my phone during tax time. So that was my very long-winded answer for you, and I hope that gave you a little bit of insight of kind of the different things that pop up as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Very helpful.
Councillor Cromwell, do you want to remind them that our budget is about $30 million before capital?
So that's a lot of hair straightener products, if you can imagine. Put it that way, $30 million is the allowance every one of us would ever get for our entire life, and our children, our grandchildren, our great-grandchildren, and onward and so forth. As I have the floor here quickly, we can spend $1 million plus on a grader, on a piece of single equipment, and realizing how quickly that budget comes in and out. So very, very vital in what we do.
Grader's $1 million.
I don't think quite yet, but we're on the way.
Close,
We're
that's
pretty
a lot of
close.
graders you own. That's- yeah.
600.
That's interesting.
Hello, my name is Arya Major. I live in town. Mr. Beck, we know you are the county CAO. We know the CAO is not an elected position. We know the individual in this role is chosen by the county council. We know this role within the county is very important, but we are not really sure what this individual does. Could you please explain the role of the CAO?
Thanks for that question. I'm learning every week what my role is, actually. I'm joking. You heard a lot about what council does and their role, most important role in running a municipality. But council doesn't go out and do all the work day to day. There's grader operators, public works people in the office, FCSS workers, you name it. There's a whole bunch of employees at Athabasca County that just go day to day doing the work to make your community great. So if you think of those people, they're all hired, they're not elected, and I'm hired, I'm not elected. If you think of that as one big hockey team, I get the privilege to be the team captain. So I get to represent those employees to council and be kind of the main conduit between the employees and council, get the direction from council as to what services they want. And then administration, that's all the hockey team, we go out and take care of them, and we get them done. So that's kind of my role, is to represent and make sure that we're doing everything we can do at the administrative level, all the workers, to get the things done that council and the community needs.
Thank you very much. Very excellent.
Hello, my name is Connor Fitzmaurice. I live in town. Councillor Chamzuk, at the moment, what is the most important issue facing the county of Athabasca?
Hi and welcome. Well, for me, it's kind of a twofold thing. It's communication and trust. We're elected to make really hard decisions that sometimes are difficult choices that affect our area residents. We provide services like keeping taxes fair, making sure our budget's appropriate, and being available to all of our residents. But with that also comes trust that we're making good choices for our municipality and our residents at both times. Thank you so much for your question.
Hello, my name is Noah Kargis. I live in Division 8. Counselor Mins, what do you consider to be one of the biggest strengths of the county of Athabasca?
Thank you for this question because it's made me very much think of how to answer this. We have many strengths from what I've learned and on my times in council and that, you know, we have here, I gotta throw my glasses on for a minute here. So, the region that we live in, that's a big strength. You know, you got everything, recreation, you got a great place to live, great place to work. The council working collaboratively with all the other municipalities that are joined internal in our county is a great strength. Don't know if you know this, we do have, we got a town, we got a village, and we got 8 summer villages in Athabasca County that we all work together with. And our farming community is a strength. It's the great farming community. Industry, LPAC, we got LPAC. In town, we got the university. They're all strengths. But the biggest strength that we have as far as what I can see and what you made me think about is, and it's gonna sound like myself and the CAO actually rehearsed this, is the employees of Athabasca County. That is a huge strength on our end. County council, we come around this table and we come up with these great ideas. They're perfect ideas, and we put them onto our employee, which is the CAO. And I'm gonna reflect this as a ship, and he is the captain of our ship. He and the employees keep our ship afloat, because if we sway one way or the other, we'll sink. So that's a huge strength. You come into the office here, you can ask questions, you can find out information, you know. The next building across here, FCSS, Family Support Services, Community Support Services, they're a great asset to Athabasca County. And the biggest strength is across the highway, Public Works Yard. That's where the everything happens out of. You want a grader, comes from there. You want gravel, comes from there. You want all the maintenance on the roads, all the maintenance of our campgrounds, maintenance of everything comes out of that spot in the county. So honestly, our biggest strength here is the Athabasca County employees.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, my name is Jordan Hosford. I live in town. Counselor Kapintanyuk, if you could change, add, or improve anything in the county of Athabasca, what would you wish for? Please explain why.
Well, I thought about this one for a while, and I thought if I had a magic genie lamp and I got only one wish, it should be for more wishes. Because that's the smart thing to do. But if I can't do that, and just actually thinking about what Councillor Mins just said and about how really the strengths of our county are every heart and soul that puts into everything that happens here. My wish would be to have, I want to say, an unlimited funding stream, but at least my wish would be to have an ability to really plan out for the future employees as technology changes and as we see more greener initiatives and green building coming forward, grants and opportunities, that we really utilize that and look towards the future. My wish is that for the employees of Athabasca County to have the best tools to work with, the best buildings to work in, and have a sense of pride when they come to work every day to say, you know what, I'm so excited I get to work here in this solar panel awesome admin building that's, you know, shiny and I want to say sparkly, not sparkly, but anyway. So, after thinking about that, that's really what it would be. It would be just making sure that everyone always had the best tools and the best place to work. And that's not saying it's not good now,
Thank
but
you.
Thank you very much.
can always be better. Thank you for that question.
Hello, my name is Landon Boucher. I live in Division 9. Counselor Holland, would you encourage young people to run for town council when they are older? Why is this important for people to get involved and to serve as a member of local government?
I don't think that was mine.
So
I
that
think that was,
was that was for.
you go right ahead. Thank you.
Thank you. Please.
So we all come to the table to work together. And so yes, I would encourage you to run for things where you feel you have skills to offer. I believe the community service is important. And so, your highest and best offering might be on town council, or it might be on county council, but it also might be on as a coach in the hockey team, or as a 4-H leader, or something like that. So I think, yes, we need people running for the elected offices like these, but communities work when everybody comes together to work together and serve the community. And so really think about it more from the perspective of what's the skill set that I have that I can offer the highest and best offer to my community. Does that help?
Thank you.
I couldn't say it
Thank
better
you.
myself.
Perfect.
Can I pipe in here?
Councillor Gerlichson, add to that, yes.
I'd just like to add to that, that I think some of the best feelings you have as an individual is when you're out there to serve others and contribute to your community in the service of others. It's probably the greatest justification. It's beyond the compensation. It's very important, very self-fulfilling.
I just wanted to add that I agree. I think that's one of the things that we focus a lot on is talking about how contributing to your community is what makes a great citizen of your community, because you are helping in whatever way you can. You're stepping forward and helping out to help make it a stronger community and stronger for all the people that live here. So thank you.
Hi, Carmen.
Hello, my name is Carmen Froze. I live in town, Reeve Hall. In the future, if one of us decides we would like to get involved in local government and run as a candidate for county council, what would be important skills or traits we should try to develop in order to help us become effective members of local government?
That's a good question. It connects really well to the other one. I think it has a number of answers because everybody comes here on a different path to get to the spot. But to me, in my opinion, the broad things are to be open-minded, practice listening to others, to practice critical thinking. That's important, to be able to just take a breath and look at what's really in front of you. And lately we've talked once in a while about what's our lane, to use a traffic analogy, or what problem are we really trying to solve? To remind ourselves that we have boundaries on what we are here to do, and we shouldn't stray too far. So I think the other ideas are to be curious and to be involved. And I mean, some board governance experience would always be helpful to make it work, but it's not necessary. It's about being interested and being curious and being willing to do the work.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
for coming.
Hello, my name is Duncan Byers. I live in town. Hello, my name is Duncan Byers. I live in town. Esteemed County of Athabasca councilors, 6F would like to sincerely thank you for taking the time to share your experiences as county councilors with us. We have learned a lot from this meeting. We hope that one day one of the students of 6F 2024 will be inspired by you and decide to run as a candidate for county council.
Thank you, Duncan. And I think today you've met the 9 of us, and to reiterate a little bit about what's been said, it's important to acknowledge that council is here as a governance body. We kind of set some rules and set some direction, but the work happens not at the table, but through the one employee that we have, which is Mr. Beck. He's the conduit that we talk to, and then he makes everything else happen through his team of people that work, as Councillor Min said, in this building, in the building across the street, and in the other county roles across the region. So we set the service delivery, and they make it happen. And I wanted to say to you, as I was listening to you, how well I think your group has done. Sometimes it can be a little intimidating or frightening to come and talk to a bunch of adults who you don't know, who are parked behind a big table and sitting away. And so it takes confidence to do that. And you've all done really well on that. And so on behalf of our council, I want to thank you for being here and doing that. I know I speak for them when I say it's one of our favorite meetings of the year. And with that, I'm going to end this session to keep us on task, because that is also one of my jobs. And we're going to take a 5-minute recess. I do have some prizes for the best questions, so I'll meet you at the door. And well, the rest of the council will grab a quick refill their coffee cups. So we'll come back at 35 minutes.
Are there prizes for good answer too?
Things moving. I'm gonna catch your attention and ask us to reconvene at 37 minutes after 10. Our next item of business is the delegation from the 3 RCMP detachments in our region, and I think we do this frequently enough, we can dispense with nominations, but are not nominations, with introductions. And but I do want to thank you for being here. I don't know if you've talked in the time you had to wait about who's going to speak first, but we'll leave the staff sergeant to direct that.
I'll go first then. Good morning, everybody. So we're here talking about the third quarter results and maybe some stuff that's come up in the last couple of months here. The letter that we sent out has some information on about the RPAS, the remote pilot aircraft systems. They're piloting some stuff around the province right now, actually throughout the country on the on drones, on how we can use them in the different communities. They've got some great success stories. Some out of Red Deer. I was on some training here or some information sessions in the past couple of weeks where they showed some video of this working here. So it looks like it's a project moving forward here, and they're pretty excited about it. I think we can see some great stuff like search and rescue would be a fantastic key component to that. So we put that in there just as a bit of information for you folks. On the Athabasca side, we are still involved in the community, highly involved in the youth stuff. You all know one of my members is teaching the rugby stuff, and he's taking the kids to New Brunswick here. I believe sometime this year. So there's quite a bit of community involvement that way. Members are still going into schools quite often. And the drug talks that we talked about, that they were supposed to go into schools there, they've been into most of the schools. I don't believe Rochester has had theirs. I'm not sure if they actually want one at this point here, but we're still working on that, getting some information on those. As far as the initiatives go, we're working on the drugs and property crime. We have seen some movement in those areas here. We had ended up doing another good search warrant in the area for drugs. They got some trafficking levels of cocaine, methamphetamines. They got some weapons, illegal weapons off the streets. They got some body armor as well out of the houses as well. So the members are out there still working hard and trying to find this stuff here and getting it out of the communities. So we're not seeing huge increases like when we initially started this a year ago. We were finding a lot more stuff. Right now we're not finding as much, but that just means the members have their focus in the right direction here. I won't steal too much of the thunder from the traffic sergeant here. We did do some check stops over this holiday season here. We ended up suspending 8 licenses during 2 check stops through that time there. So that's a factor in the drugs and substance abuse side of things. So we're still seeing the impaired drivers out there, and it was good to see that actually the members are getting out there doing those things as well. Property crime, we did see a little bit of spike, not in the county area, but in my northern part of the area here, we saw a little bit of a spike there. But we made some significant arrests and put those people in front of the courts. Again, as always, we continue to work on our offenders. Whenever they have somebody who's arrested and has conditions, or they're released from custody in any form from the courts, and they have conditions on them, whether they be curfews or not to be in certain areas, we are highly motivated and focused on those areas there, which has been made a big impact on repeat offenders. So the initiatives are going along well. As far as trends from 2022 to 2023, in that same time period there, we saw a total decrease of criminal code offenses by 2%. Not a huge decrease, but any decrease is good in that area there. There was a reduction overall for property crime by 16%. But there was an increase by 23% persons crimes. So we're talking 52 reported to 64 reported in 2023. So that makes up 23%. Generally, the trend is it's going lower. The amount of offenses are going lower, so which is a good positive step forward in the areas here. Moving on to the detachment complement. I'm not going to go over the numbers that we originally reported to you, because now things have changed for us. We have hired our 5th fifth public servant now, which is Jeannie McKay. She was our victim services person for the longest, for many years. Now she is a public servant in our office. So now I have 5 public servants working, which meant that I can change one of my constable positions to a senior investigator, which is a sergeant. We have identified a sergeant to come down from Fort McMurray, and so we're just waiting for him to sell his house. I have 2 corporals. One of them still is trying to sell his house from in the Barhead area there. We're still anticipating hopefully his arrival in the next couple of months here, but so that means I'm still at 15 officers, including myself. It'll be me as a staff sergeant, 1 sergeant, 2 corporals, and 11 constables. Right now, just recently, we transferred out Constable Billy Kelly. He's gone to bigger and better things down south, and we are getting a cadet as of around May 6th to replace him on there. So I'm told from staffing recently that there's a lot more people going through our system through depot. So we're going to start seeing some numbers come out in that. So good positive steps forward here for this year. And we're looking in good shape here. As far as financial drivers go, there wasn't anything major in financial drivers for the year, for that quarter there. I did spend a little bit of overtime up in the northern part because of the state of emergency that they declared up there, but it had no real drastic effect on my detachment budget here. I just got the numbers, so we're still looking in good shape. With that, I'll let my counterparts take over.
It looks like Sergeant Simpkins is pushing Sergeant Paparizzi to speak next by the microphone position.
Morning, everybody. Thanks for having me. Appreciate Mark. Saves me a bit of the explanation on that drone program. He's dug into it a little bit more than I have. As far as Boyle, October, November, December, we were still pretty light on some staffing. My operations NCO corporal was still off, so I was still pitching in quite a bit. Our biggest thing into November was really representing the veterans at all the Remembrance Day ceremonies. So we made a very good point to hit every invite to all the schools that we did have. I was able to find a red serge that still fit. Mainly the boots were the problem. So we had a pretty good showing at the local Legion in Athabasca, and some of our guys went out to other areas that were invited. So despite having a little bit of shortages, we know that is a major visibility thing that I'm a big proponent of, especially in November for the communities and all the veterans and everybody that's included. So I was pretty pleased with that. December, we were pretty lucky. Weather was good. Traffic issues weren't as bad. Not much was going on in the fall months. But what I did do, so these trends, points of interest. So every time we see persons crime and a percentage, I actually went through and made it more, I guess, layman for everybody to understand. Break down what kind of calls we were looking at and types. So if you had a bunch of assaults, well, I can tell you a snapshot of what they entailed. So it makes a little more sense. So what I like to do, so from October 1 to December 31, I had a look at what we had for files. Not all of them, but just some of the ones that I could say, well, this is a group of assaults we had, and then break it down for you. So for example, some of the assault related offenses that we did have, a lot of them were spousal or family related issues. We had a road rage issue that turned a little bit hot for a couple of people, but we also had an assault at one of the restaurants where one of the employees was assaulted by a customer. So we're dealing with stuff like that. So you know that the assaults aren't just gang violence or something like that. I can break it down so it makes a little more sense of what was happening. Had an officer that was also assaulted during an arrest. It wasn't a serious assault. He was basically spit in the face with some blood and just somebody being pretty ignorant during an arrest. So we still proceed with an assault charge against the police officer, but just so you know, it wasn't something that was very violent with a weapon or anything like that. Reach of the pieces, that encompasses some of the disturbances we went to. Break and enters. I had a good look at that just because I do keep a tab on where they're occurring and what's happening. So Provista Hall seems to be getting hit a few times. It's very isolated, no alarms, no surveillance, but it seemed like food items were getting stolen, just some easy carry stuff, so more of a crime of opportunity. We're coming in after the fact, and a lot of those, there's not much for us to go on. So we're just hoping that some of the community just keeps calling us in. Hopefully, if people are still in the area when they're occurring, but if somebody's only checking on the hall every few days, it's pretty tough. Mechanical business in Boyle, they attempted a beanie, but the alarm went off. We caught them in progress, and a lot of those kind of things, you spook them before you get there. They'll either hear the police coming, or that one, we were fortunate with an alarm and the proper surveillance system. You aren't successful as a culprit. Some of the Buffalo Lake landfill office in the fire hall, oil lease sites, some of those were getting hit. Again, crime of opportunity, no way of us knowing until after the fact. In Boyle, we had the curling rink and a couple churches hit. We discussed that last quarter when we were talking. We attributed that to some local use and insecure premises. Wasn't anybody with any high skills. And they're going in looking for anything that's easy carry. I know with the curling rink, they got some cash that they had left on hand. That was by a fluke. Our biggest proponent is you don't leave anything valuable in your car. Try not to do it in some of these unoccupied businesses as well. Picker Point Cabin in the Elscott area, there was a seasonal property also hit. Donataville, there was a rural property also hit. Just south of Boyle, we actually had a B&E in progress. Fortunately, they had an alarm system as well as live surveillance. Myself and two officers, actually, Lee was with us that day. We actually intercepted these people with a trailer that had a full load of stuff about a mile from the house. So both were in custody. One just pled out. I think he's got 23 days left to serve, which is good for us. The other fella is still out of custody, and we'll monitor him. Yeah, so that's kind of accompanying the summer break and enter. So it's kind of a shotgun all over. Into this quarter, we can talk to what in the next quarterly update, but we were seeing a trend at Moatha Beach, as well as some seasonal residences where they're using that opportunity of nobody being around. Fresh snow comes, especially what we just had. They know who's not there because just no tracks coming in out. They're using that as an opportunity. Quads, ATVs. By the time we get there, they're gone. We're rarely relying on any surveillance systems that the community has. And we'll talk about this at the next quarterly update, but we're pretty lucky. We did get some physical evidence on one. I did some tracking, and I think there was 12 break and enters throughout Athabasca County, including Lac La Biche, us, as well as over in Mark's territory. And if we can attribute these same individuals to all 12, it's very unlikely, but I'm suspecting they were involved in probably 12. So that tells you the scale of problems that we're having with some small groups. But if we can pick off a couple break and enters and tie them to that, that's our biggest goal. We had a dangerous driving police pursuit on 831 coming into Boyle. We ended up intercepting that vehicle and the driver. We got some charges on that. It was a stolen vehicle coming in from Edmonton. Some fraud related issues, theft related issues are always going, but we're getting that at a rural construction area east of Boyle that was hit, mainly fuel and some of those kind of tools that they can get from sites. Blue Heron Estates had some, I think a watercraft stolen. The trailer wasn't locked up. They were able to hook on and drive away. I think it was a pontoon boat. Where it went, we're not too sure, but it's on CPIC. So that's crime of opportunity. And if we don't get calls from suspicious vehicles and all that, we're not really, we're way behind the 8 ball on stuff like that. Wandering River, we had an oil lease, couple oil lease sites up there, same thing. Guys going in because of remote locations, and we're not finding out about it until employees come on site way after the fact. Had a stolen vehicle from Lac La Biche recovered in Boyle. We did arrest somebody in that vehicle with a stolen firearm as well. So the guys are on the road trying to do what they can to circumvent some of these things. And we are having some successes. Did have a truck stolen from Boyle. We'd recovered that in Lac La Biche. That was taken from a business in Boyle. some of the sexual assaults that we had coming in, person involved, a lot of it was familia. So it was regarding people that are acquainted with each other. It's not stranger on stranger. We're not having any major issues where we're too concerned. It's a lot of privacy issues that are coming into us regarding people that know one another. Towards the fall, we had some firearms possessions charges picking up, and that was a lot of people carrying firearms hunting season without proper licenses. You can't without a PAL, ammo as well, so we were finding some infractions that way. So mainly the hunting type rifles. Handful of uttering threats, nothing major. Traffic related incidents, we're seeing a decrease in criminal code. I only attribute that from my experience to be most of our impaireds that we're proceeding with are going provincially sanctioned. So that's going to reduce our actual criminal code charges in that area, I believe. Collisions, we had about 140 collisions, majority with wildlife strikes over that period. 20 resulting in injuries, no fatalities, which is thankful. Drug offenses, we did fairly well this year so far. We're finding that we're not finding the loads we were. So over the year to date, from April into now, we were looking at a couple kilos that we had, which is very good. And like I say, for us to come across a kilo here and there in a traffic stop, that's we know it's out there, but people aren't flying down the road with a flag saying I have a kilo. So for us to pick those off, it's luck. It's like fishing. So it's good. It's a good win for us to get a few of those circumvented from making their area to the community, whether it be Fort Mac or Mark's area or mine. Just to me, it's a proactive way to prevent a lot of issues with overdoses, stuff like that. As far as my staffing coming in, I'm looking in good shape now. I got my corporal back at the end of January. So that's going to allow me to free up to do a lot of the year end. I'm going to start looking at some town halls into March and then preparing for the end of this fiscal and into the new year with some priorities. I think they'll be similar to what we've been doing. A lot of the traffic enforcement, high visibility, being in the schools. So we'll have some new ideas kind of coming into the new year and learn what we could do a little bit better coming in. I'm going to lose, I lost my one constable to St. Paul just now this week. And I have another one on board to go probably in the spring. So that'll be my senior members all gone. So that's 4 years service members all gone. And I'm relying on 2 year service members and under to train new recruits coming in. So our experienced staff will be 2 years and less coming into the new year, but they're all excited to do a good job. And my biggest proponent will be is spring, summer, we're just gonna be in the community as much as we can possibly be. I made some liaison contacts with Moatha, Bondis, Long Lake Villages, so we can get some quick fan outs. Already got a May meeting scheduled in Long Lake. They're gonna start talking about some of the things they can do. So for us, it's just gonna be a lot of high visibility and see where we need to be.
I'll let them go first because I cover both areas in traffic, so well, at least I try. But I don't have the February stats yet because the month's not over, so I just have December and January. Myself in January, I was off for the month because pulled my back out, so they only had one person working. But in those 2 months, we conducted 8 road checks within the area. Keep in mind the cold weather at minus 30s and 40s. I don't expect my members to be standing on the roadway for any length of time. I wouldn't do it. So that hampered it a little bit. Should have been there's quite a few planned though in December because it was counterattack month there. So most of them took place in December. Of that, we had 6 impaired driving infractions in that time period. One on note was a male was northbound on Highway 63. I think I spoke about it the last time we were here, but he's to appear in Boyle on March 15th to arrange a hearing or whatever. That male blew think it was 170, 160, so 2 times over the legal limit. We had several witnesses come into the Boyle detachment and give statements. There's a few people that were pretty shook up because they were almost had a head-on collision with this driver. We just happened to be in the area and scoop him up real quick, so that was good. It was a good day to get him off the road. Enforcement wise in that time period, we've just give you some stats here. We've got 9 seatbelt tickets, 6 distracted driving, so people on the cell phones. Speeding and aggressive driving, 56 tickets on that. And combination of drive while unauthorized and other infractions, intersections, and that is 18 tickets. In that time period, we did just under 200 mandatory alcohol screenings. And we assisted both detachments a total of 9 times. So if they have a call and we're in the area, we'll help out. So we helped them out 9 times in that time period. And we executed 1 warrant in that time period. I've also gone out of the area, but I've been in Plamondon School doing talks to the kids on drugs and alcohol and impaired driving. We were scheduled to do one here at the Edwin Parr on distracted driving. And Boyle School, I have slated to do an ATV presentation about ATV safety and off-road vehicles to the school there coming up. So we're pretty short-staffed, like probably worse off than these guys. Yeah, so
Thank you.
about it.
Normally, council has a few questions and I want to open the floor. I suspect Councillor Min's going to take offense to your comment about fishing and luck, but why don't today we start with Councillor Min's and we'll work our way around it.
Yeah, no, I won't. Just want to commend you guys for so much community involvement. I think that's great to see the RCMP out and dealing with the schools and dealing with the public and that. And this drone thing going on, I think I can't wait to hear more about that, because the drones are getting so much more capability of being able to do everything with the drone. It's like, I think it's a great way to go. So looking for more information on that, that'd be great. And I think that's a great way to go. So, and regarding staffing on the highway patrol, like, are they can't get more, or you guys can't get more staff, or people don't want to do it, or what's happening?
Well, the priority is the general duty policing side of things. And until their vacancies get fulfilled, traffic's kind of on the back burner, so.
But they'll help you out. These 2 gentlemen will help you out, right?
For some overtime.
Right on. Thank you again with the community involvement. I think it's great. It's great to hear. Councilor?
I don't have any questions, but as you all know, I appreciate all of you and your members and all that you do out there. So for me, just thank you so very much.
Pretty much the same thing. Always appreciated. I've noticed lately, it just seems like we see you guys everywhere. It's nice to see you guys out there, and it's much appreciated in our communities. Thank you.
Councillor Cromwell?
I'm not going to grill you on anything today. Thank you very much for what you guys are doing. We appreciate it.
I haven't been arrested for anything yet, so thank you for that. Just one quick question on, we were talking about surveillance. I guess I'm supposed to be talking. When you're talking about surveillance, does it have to be posted visibly that there is surveillance there in order for it to be usable?
Private property, but sorry. Yeah, private property, you can do what you like. As long as it's not intruding on somebody else, so you can't put a camera at your neighbor, front door, stuff like that, right? You probably.
But you just have a trail cam on your property and.
Yeah, our biggest thing is, like, for example, if we're getting a couple break and enters in some of the seasonal areas, we know everybody else is. So we try to piece it together and say, well, we know like 3 days this week we're getting hit and then it's quiet. So where did they go? So it's not I guess my biggest thing is we're not always looking for the bad guy where he is right now. We try to anticipate where he's going to be. And we have a little more luck there. So if we know they're gonna be in a certain area, like if we know, okay, well, possibly they're moving from Lac La Biche area, they hit us. Maybe they're gonna be moving into Redwater or Athabasca's area over here. And then we'll look at the calls coming in and say, yeah, they did get a few hit last night. So if we can get the same individuals on surveillance cameras across multiple jurisdictions, these guys don't go home and change their clothes. They don't go home and change the cars. So the cars will sometimes be on the same surveillance systems as well as the same individual with the blue hoodie. Yet I can maybe pick him off at Grassland, one of the truck stops where, okay, well, we know they passed through Grassland possibly. Esso, do you have some surveillance from this time to this time? And we'll go through it. Well, Buddy comes in and guess what? Now we know who he is because he's not hooded up. He's buying a chocolate bar or smokes or whatever. And then somebody in Lac La Biche says, I know that guy. So it takes a lot of legwork on our end. But if we have no surveillance, no physical evidence from the scene, we're not rocket scientists, right? We go with what we got. So my goal is with the surveillance systems that people can have on their rural properties. Yeah, it might not show them right, close up, but clothing description, vehicles, we can start piecing things together. And depending on how much evidence we can collect, whether it's tire treads or footwear impressions, where we arrest the guy and he's got the same boots at every scene, we can maybe paint a big picture for Crown and go after them for multiple break-in-enters in several jurisdictions. That's our goal.
Yeah, I was just asking because I go for coffee 3 times a week and the authorities at the coffee shop suggest that if you don't have things posted, that the surveillance that you pick up is not valid.
Yeah, if you have it coming onto your property or a business, hey, you could be really recorded. We have that in our area because it's a public area. So if you come into a cell block or the detachment, there's a notice right on the wall saying, FY, you're being recorded, or you could be. Thanks.
Councillor Kapitanek, any questions or comments? Councillor Anderson? The notes that I made from, the discussion this morning is really around thanking for the support of the constable's participation and leadership in the rugby program. I know that happens with support from the top, and I can see the how meaningful that is to some of those boys. Sergeant Paprese, your numbers are up a little bit, but do you think is that a factor of more things, or is that more and better reporting?
We are seeing a bit better reporting in the fall and in early winter months, because I was a proponent for people to call in. A lot of people give that comment of, well, I could call you, but it's going to take too long to get here, especially the suspicious activity. And we're seeing a little more reporting, which is good. And a prime example was I was just having lunch yesterday with Lee at the Pizza House in Boyle. And a member of the public was saying they had a suspicious vehicle. I cut them off. I knew the whole story. And they said, well, how did you know that? And I said, because 2 nights ago, that same vehicle and that flat deck trailer took off on one of our guys because we were out there patrolling because people were calling in suspicious activity. So if we're out there and we intercept something and then that suspicious vehicle becomes criminal activity, well, then our charges are going to go up. Our file load's going to go up in a certain area, especially if there's possession of stolen property, our firearm being recovered, that's a firearm offense. So I like to see things go up because that means our file load's going up. Does it always result in a charge? No, but at least we identify individuals. We know where to be in the certain areas. So reporting should go up and then our stats should go up as well. That's what I look at.
Thank you. Sergeant Simpkins, just for me, and maybe my colleagues will remember this, but can you remind us of the size of your district? Like, are you just the overlay on the Athabasca and Boyle detachments, or?
No, I do all of Lac La Biche County as well as Athabasca County. So we do Highway 63 all the way up to Mariana Lake. And then we go as far south as the county line, just south of the county line on 63. And then Lac La Biche County, we go all the way up, is it 81, Highway 881? Up to Conklin?
Yep.
So we go all the way up to, almost to Conklin on that side,
So you have a
so. Yeah, and that's why, I like-
tremendous area to cover when you're with the staffing complement you've told us about.
or lack thereof.
Well, I thank you for taking the time to be with us today, and I also am glad to learn that the problem with my shirts originates with my boots. Anyway, thank you for being here. If there's no more questions from council, we'll let you get back to the other more important things you do, and look forward to seeing you in a couple months. We are 10 minutes past when our 11 o'clock delegation is here. I think Ms. Blair, you said they're ready. If you want to invite them in, council, if you want to quickly refill coffees, let's get her done. Good morning, Mr. McDonald, James McDonald, right? Thank you for joining us again this year, and apologies for the delay in the timing of getting you in.
Not a problem.
Our normal pattern with all delegations is to introduce council, and just because I know you're here only annually, we'll go through that, and when it lands with you, the floor will be yours. So we'll start on my left with our CAO, Mr. Bob Beck. The recording secretary is Ms. Blair. She's traveling around handing things out. Mr. Schenkelberg is the communications czar. And Councilor Mintz.
Good morning, Rob Mintz, Division 8 Counselor, Baptiste Lake Island Lake area.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Tracy Holland, Counselor for Division 5, which is east of Athabasca, covering Parkview, Amber Valley areas. East. Super.
Well, James, I think we know each other well, but Kelly Chapzik, Division 7, and as you know, we also sit on the Northern Lights team as well.
And again, we've met a few times. Brian Hall, elected in Division 4, and Reeve.
Good morning, Ashton Anderson. I reside in Division 3, which is the Boyle area.
Oh, good morning. I'm Natasha Kapitaniak, elected in Division 2, Minnook, New Pine Creek, and Collington.
Good morning, Joe Gerlach, and I represent Division 1, Rochester Perryville.
And good morning, Gary Crummell, the far north of the county, Division 6 up and including Wandering River, Brainerd area.
Right on. Well, thank you.
The floor is yours.
Thank you. And I'm James McDonald. I'm the Executive Director at Northern Lights Library System, and I'm glad to be here. And thank you, Kelly. We appreciate Kelly's service on the Northern Lights Board and on our executive. She brings some good contributions to those discussions. So thank you for sparing her. So I've hopefully got out there this value statement for you. Sorry, it is on our website now as of yesterday. And so we'll get you an electronic copy. But we'll do some old school print here, and we'll start with just not the system-wide value, we'll talk about last, but the value statement for 2023. So these are your 2023 numbers. You have just about 1,800 active library cards in the county. So most households will have one card for their family. Sometimes there's more than one, but most will. So you can probably almost double that number in terms of households that are using it. County members circulated more than 49,000 print books in 2023. That would have cost them about $1.2 million to just buy those books. So we're glad that they were able to borrow them off the shelves of the libraries that you support, but also, you know, from across Northern Lights and across most of Northern Alberta. As you know, Northern Lights is a member of the TRAC consortium. We partner with 3 other regional library systems, which allows you to, your residents to have access to more than 3 million library titles. And, you know, we bought almost 20,000 new books in Northern Lights in 2023, but because we're partnered with those 3 other regions, they also bought at least, we're almost the smallest of the regions, at least that many books. So you're looking at 100,000 plus brand new books in the year that are available to your patrons. And now that's just the print. Yeah, electronically, you're a little bit lower on the electronic usage than other counties. And I wonder if that's partially, you know, maybe due to some broadband issues or something. I'm not sure, but or could just simply be, you know, just a cultural thing here. But you took out 4,400 ebooks and 2,700 e-audiobooks. You know, together that's about $500,000 worth of electronic books and audiobooks, which is pretty great. But if you do the math there, you can see the average cost of those is not cheap. But still, it's a pretty solid piece to your residents. You know, a good example would be my grandmother-in-law. She lost her vision recently, about a year or so ago, and you know, she's an avid reader. And so what do? What's your quality of life? And could not afford, we could not afford to have her have, you know, an Audible account where she's taking out 5 or 6 books a week. She can do that with the library system. And so we've been able to set that up for her. And I'm sure there are many, many other stories like that of people being able to access this material that they couldn't otherwise access. You know, to be a member of Northern Lights Library System, you pay a levy. Your levy is split between the library board and the municipality. So you pay half, the library board pays the other half. Your cost is $42,000 to be a member. Out of that, we take $2.15 per resident. We set that aside as a book allotment. So it doesn't go to our operating, goes directly to the purchase of books. We make sure that every library in the system has that account and that the books purchased, whether they're electronic or print or other library materials, are shareable across the system. So your libraries get almost $17,000 combined between, you know, their, you know, as for that $215 of your residents, which is great. Rural services grant, meaning communities that are a part of the system that don't have boards, they still get access to the grant. So you have quite a few summer villages, for example, as they have joined, they get access to the provincial operating grants that gets redistributed by Northern Lights to your libraries. So for every dollar you're investing in Northern Lights, and again, this is just a fraction of what we do, but it's really some of the most powerful in terms of numbers. So it's one of the reasons why we share it, because we also do reading programs and we do professional help and all that sort of stuff. And I do put that in here. It's a bit of an undersell, the professional value. Your libraries talk to Northern Lights staff, you know, put in tickets for help, whether it's IT or whether it's how do I write this policy, or how do we do our plan of service, our strategic planning, you know, things like that. You've reached out 115 times. We value that at $8,600. It's a pretty big undersell, actually. You'd have to hire a few people to make that work. But for every dollar you're investing based on this, you're getting back $69 in value, which is pretty great. And you're part of something way, way bigger. You know, if we look at the system-wide value, just in Northern Lights, $28 million worth of circulation value in 2023. We're up in our electronic circulation from about 120,000 titles to almost 150,000 titles from the year before. our physical circulations hovering around the same, around 800,000 titles move in and out of Northern Lights in Elk Point every year. So again, you're operating, to operate, we take that levy, it's $539 from you and $539 per person from the library board. We combine that with a provincial operating grant of $4.75. I'd like to say thank you for your support in our letter writing campaign in 2023 to get the province to come a little bit more to the table. We hadn't had an increase since 2015. We did get an increase. We went from 470 to 475. So you can do the math, but we're glad to get that uptick. It does make a difference. A couple things. I'll probably come, unless you want me, I'll probably be at 2 years. We're going to kind of split the system up here. So I'm coming every other year rather than every year. Now that we've established some rapport with you, but happy to come if you need to hear from me. Just to save a little bit of costs. And there are 60 municipalities and one of me. So we're trying to split that up over the year, over a 2-year time period. Just to save a little money, but we are working really hard to be as absolutely efficient with the dollars that we get as we can be. And Kelly can attest to that, I think. So, yeah, so just those are my thoughts. I will say, since we're here, we are still committed to, hopefully the board is still committed to, I'm sure they are. Kelly can tell me otherwise. If not, the 1.5% increase is what we're aiming for year over year. We're trying to be consistent and modest. We can be modest and consistent, partially because we do have a healthy reserve that was built up over the pandemic and past years of good board judgment. They were working on, maybe a building change that's no longer necessary. So we're trying to be very frugal there and dip into those to make sure that that's at a proper level and keep our asks modest and consistent. We don't want to be in a situation where we do multi-years of no increases and then have to come ask for big amounts. Our neighbor Peace Library System is asking for 5% a year for the next 3 to 4 years. We don't want to be there. So yeah, that's my presentation. I'm happy to take questions.
Colleagues, any questions for James? Mr. McDonald? Yes, your hands up.
James, just remind me again, we're expecting that 1.5 levy increase till 2026, correct?
Yeah, we've budgeted out to 2026, hoping at 1.5%. So we pass our budget annually, but we do try to forecast out 3 to 4 years.
Thank you.
And certainly, your comment about coming every second year, there is opportunity to, my personal preference is to see people in person.
Yeah.
But, with the technology as it is, it's also possible to pop in on a Zoom meeting and share this information. And because I think that it's important that the community hears this, we can take it in, but the real value comes from being able to pass that on back through to the region, whether, through all the channels that exist here, including the newspaper, if they choose to pick it up.
Yeah, that's actually a great idea. Maybe I'll chat with the board about that too. Maybe we do half online and then the next year in person. The in-person stuff you can't beat it. And the online thing is still hard. And then of course we tack this on usually, like I'm off after this to go to the library and meet with the library manager there and, in Athabasca here. So yeah, good idea.
Are there other questions at the table? Councillor Hall?
I don't have a question so much other than a comment, but thank you very much. This is incredibly important work and a huge asset in our community to have these libraries and the amount of libraries that we do have in our area. So thank you very much. I appreciate these stats and I hope we get more members for you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Councillor Gerlich would like to ask a question.
My mic is on. Just like the numbers surprised me. I didn't realize that there would be that many participants. It's only says 20%.
Yeah,
that's pretty high utilization.
Yeah, and it's like that across the board, right? I think I'd like to see it double personally. I think there are a lot of members in our communities that just aren't aware, and so we're looking to find ways to market to those folks to let them know that it's there, especially in these times. Inflation is killer, right? I got my electrical bill, gas bill the other day. I canceled my a couple subscriptions. So, people need to know that the system is there for them. So
So just for clarity, you said the library user count of 1,789, that's just memberships. So some of those memberships could have, is a family membership and there could be
whole
5 people
family in
attached
there.
to it?
Yeah, that's the thing, there are some households where everybody gets a card, right? But most places that our experience is it's the one card for the house. Mom and dad generally have a better time of managing things if they've got one card. So yeah, I wouldn't probably double that number, but I would add probably good quarter to 2/3 more to that number to determine the actual number of people using it.
Well,
So
I thought it was a family membership, actually. I didn't.
Yeah.
Somebody else in my house takes care of renewing that and
It's
so I
typical.
just go and have
We don't-
access.
We don't want to deny families when they come in. Usually, I mean, it's a local decision, but most libraries, they'll do a family card, but then, there's a lot of, kids especially that were like, I want that library card. And so they get one too.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Always enlightening, and I'm just looking around quickly to see if there's any final follow-up questions. I appreciate the presentation. It's clear and it pops out the critical information, and I'm glad you made the trip to spend a few minutes with us today and appreciate your patience while we started a few minutes late.
Thanks, Mr. Reed. Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Council, do you want 5 minutes? Okay, yeah, the last one was a little shorter. I should have thought about the photo and whatever. So can we come back at past? All right, it's past. We'll reconvene the February 29th County Council meeting. 6.3, Councillor Anderson. You had asked to put that on the agenda. Are you prepared to move the recommended motion?
No, I'm not. I just had a point of order. First off, I do not believe this matter is properly before council. The terms of reference were discussed at the February 20th Committee of the Whole meeting, where the committee unanimously voted to receive the report as information. And the subsequent motion to reconsider the item was defeated. And I'm questioning why this item is back before council so soon, when historically motions to accept or receive as information have parked that item essentially and halted any further discussion or request for decision related to those items. So my main concern is not this specific topic, but just what precedent are we setting by having this on today's agenda?
I don't know in terms of guidance, in terms of the point of order, based on historic practice. I mean, this would be, we accepted it for information at Committee of the Whole, so I'm also confused why it's on the agenda. I don't have a lot of guidance in terms of direction, because I would say, the point is well taken. We normally would, accepting for information is parking it. I think to some degree, we probably want to talk at a different day about what it means to accept and what the sort of standard expectation is there. But it is on the agenda nonetheless, so I don't know. While I agree that our historic practice is that we would park it, council, you need to provide direction on where you want to go. Councillor Holland.
Thank you. We're finished talking about the point of order at this point? Okay.
So
So
we're
I'll
still
leave
waiting
that
for a
for-
motion.
I'll leave that for another day. For a motion to direct administration to use the recommended terms of reference.
Is anyone prepared first? Because it is our practice to take the recommended motion, but then that wasn't recommended by Committee of the Whole. I apologize. Please continue.
I guess we also have to understand that Committee of the Whole, we don't have any authority there to receive, to accept, to make any changes other than to the minutes. So I'll just go forward with this recommendation here to direct administration to use the recommended terms of reference for proposal for the council remuneration policy 2009 review. I'll put that motion on the table, but also.
Can you just repeat it slower for me, just so I can make a note, please? And then so I can repeat it
Sure.
accurately.
To direct administration to use the recommended terms of reference for proposal for the council remuneration policy 2009 review.
So the motion on the floor is to direct administration to use the recommended terms of reference for the proposal for the council remuneration policy number 2009 review. Is there any discussion on that? Do you want me to repeat the motion? And then I'll give Councillor Holland a chance to speak to it first. So the motion, unless I got it wrong, is to direct administration to use the recommended terms of reference for the proposed council remuneration policy number 2009 review. Is that how you said it? Okay. Councillor Holland, you moving the motion can speak to it first if you want. You, of course, have final word on a main motion.
Thank you. I just have a quick question. As I was going through the methodology on bullet point number 6 on page 46. I was just curious, the methodology to analyze data and make recommendation for county council and what range would be recommended based on industry practice and norms. I just wanted to double check and confirm that that would also encompass establishing future adjustments to remuneration, including jurisdictional comparators and frequency. I wasn't really sure what that bullet meant.
CAO, that's your question.
Mr. Chairman, I think your question is that would it address future reviews? That's a fair question. I hadn't anticipated that because your current policy states when you would be doing a full review already. So this was more based on past practice and norm when they're doing work for other councils establishing it. Is it median? Is it mean? What is it? Is it have they seen someone use the 75th percentile? What are they trying to get at? Like, what do they recommend for us? That's really what I was trying to get out of that.
Floor remains yours.
Yeah, just as a follow-up, would it be prudent then to add a methodology to establish the future adjustments to remuneration, including the jurisdictional and comparators and frequency? Or do you feel that that's covered in this proposal that you've mentioned? Or the terms of reference for the proposal, pardon me?
Mr. Chairman, that's really a question back to council. It's your current adopted policy says you'll do a full external review at the midpoint of every term. So the current policy as it stands says you'll be doing one in the midpoint of the next term. I don't know if they're free to comment on it if they think that that's appropriate or not, you know?
So you basically, that would be part of the review and we wouldn't have to request it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Any further comments? Councillor Kapitanek, your hand is up.
I would just like clarification on the motion. The motion in my mind reads that we have voted to have a review outside of what our policy states when we'll have review. Or it sounds like that.
That, I think that relates back to motion 2436, which is already passed to direct administration to obtain quotes for the review options and present them at the committee though.
Did we establish that we were going to have a review outside of our
I
policy
think that was the motion.
reviews? That to me doesn't read that we've set that we're going to have a review immediately. So I guess I'm more looking for the information that if we're directing administration to do this, that there is not like an immediate timeline for them. It's, we have a set out when we'll do reviews, but we're establishing what it will look like when that happens. Is that what we're doing here? I guess through the chair.
Councillor Holland, that maybe is a question that you should address.
I'm confused.
Through the chair to Councillor Kapitanek, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we were trying to have this established so that we could have a return of the meeting by April, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't recall any dates being set, so.
No, we didn't set the meeting, but I think we'd hope to have the information back by April, if I'm not mistaken. If I may also just as side point.
Is that because you've
reasonable?
spoken, I'm going to ask you, unless it's specific to that clarification, to hold it for your.
I guess,
Would that be fair?
then I would just ask a follow-up, because my concern will obviously be administration time. Whatever timeline this council decides upon, that we ask if that is a reasonable timeline.
So we've got I think we've got a couple of issues going, so let's address the one on the terms of reference, and then we can come back to that other comment. Is that fair? Would everybody see that as reasonable?
Yeah, I just want to.
So on the specific motion that's in front of you, any further comments?
No, not at this time. You might do a second round. I'll think.
Anybody else want to comment on this? Councillor Chamsic, is your hand up? No. Okay, so the motion in front of us is to direct admin to use the recommended terms of reference for preparing the council remuneration review, policy number 2009. Basically, we're just adopting the terms of reference as required by the policy. Is there any further comment? Councillor Holland, final word to you.
Thank you. I just wanted to quickly mention, probably a typo, so that we're all on the same page, page 44. The resolution numbers under number 2 being CC 24 and CC 2444 and 33 should be CW, I believe. Yeah. Okay. Just wanted to make sure that everybody was.
I think also CC 2444 wasn't actually motion at that meeting.
Well, and I mean, I guess that raises
that's
another point. Right?
That's a discussion for that meeting though.
Yeah. Absolutely, because we should know how to number those notice of motions. I just should double check and make sure I made a note here. We do have, of course, in the policy 6.4 I3 to bring forward recommendations regarding council remuneration. I'm assuming when the person who does the review, they will follow that recommendation as well to bring out those recommendations forward, or do we need to put that in the terms of reference?
Mr. Chairman, maybe you could restate that. I'm not sure, 100% sure what you were trying to get at.
So in policy 2009, section 6.4 I and I, it mentions that when the review to bring forward recommendations regarding council remuneration. So I'm assuming that that will also come forward. We don't need to specify that in the terms.
Correct.
Thank you.
So on the question of the adoption of the motion to direct administration to use the recommended terms of reference for the proposed council remuneration policy number 2009 review, all those in favor? Opposed? We are 7-1 and the motion is adopted. I'm just looking at the kind of where this is at. I'm wondering if there is an appetite at council to and thinking about workload and timing to reconsider the motion from the past to just assign the to direct administration to get this done versus obtaining 3 quotes and coming back to council. We're making something that should be just a straightforward let admin do it kind of operation. We're delaying it by having quotes come back. And so would it be reasonable to just assign the CAO the responsibility to get this review done and report back to council? Because I'm CAO, I guess I'm wondering if do you want to speak to your time commitments and trying to get, the balance of things that are your responsibilities done? Can we modify this to make it more straightforward and time efficient for you?
Well, Mr. Chairman, it's up to council if they actually want to see proposals from different groups before they move forward. If it's that an important task for them that they want to pick from the consultants. If not, we would simply pick one that could do it and ask for a proposal and say, can you do this work by X date? I get what you're getting at is this is a pretty small little project and it's not a big dollar project. So there's a good chance no one's going to respond to a proposal call. It costs money to respond to a proposal. So if the project's only worth 15,000 and it costs you 4,000 to prepare your proposal, you're probably just going to pass on it. And so are you really am I going to get 3 proposals by April? I don't think so. So I guess your question is, are you better off trying to sole source it to a firm that could do it? And is council going to be okay with that?
So it seems to me that, we're going to be moving ahead with this. Is that can we stop making things more difficult and just assign the CAO the responsibility of doing it? Councilor Minns?
Through the chair to the CAO, do you have somebody in mind that you would go with?
Mr. Chairman, probably the one we've already used for staff, the staff salary review, because I suspect he's already narrowed down the comparators for the staff. So he's found the ones that make sense to compare when he's establishing greater operator pay. And so he's looking at like counties already to help us with the staff salary review. And that's also the author of, I sent out one study this morning for a recent county that did that. And that's the firm we ended up using for staff. So that's who I would go to and say, do you have capacity to do that? You've already got comparators, I think. It's probably who I would use, Mr. Chairman.
On that note, I'd be okay with with putting it to administration, to our CAO to bring back information and yeah, let us have a look at it. Quicker the better. So do we amend the motion? Separate motion?
Process wise, I think you would want to reconsider 24-63 and then make a motion that is to direct admin to complete a third party review as outlined by policy 2009. And report back to council and further to rescind 24-63, which requires them to get 3 quotes, because we got to take that off the table.
I'm sorry.
24-63. To obtain 3 quotes. It would be on page 7 of your agenda. Counselor Anderson,
I move to rescind resolution CC 2463.
we need to reconsider that first.
Before we,
Counselor Hall? Yep.
yeah, I don't quite understand why it would not be a separate motion, being that we're already directing admin to use the reference of, for proposal. We could do a secondary motion to direct administration to, as you mentioned. I don't see why we need to do any rescinding. We would just have a secondary motion. Is that
You
not
can't
possible?
have competing motions. On one hand, you're saying get 3, and on the other hand, you're saying just go do it. So that's why if you put them in the same motion, you don't split it, you move forward with what you want to do and you take care of the one that contradicts.
Let's have, I would prefer
Okay,
to have a
Councillor
rule.
Hall, Councillor Anderson has made a motion to rescind 24-63. Is I think that does stand alone. Do you want to amend?
It, please.
It's on page 7.
Page 7.
Councillor Mins, you want to amend it to add the other stuff? You want to add it?
63.
Okay, so we have a motion on the floor to rescind 24-63. Is there any comments at the table? Councillor Mins? Comment? No. Okay, so if we're headed down the path of we're just going to assign this to admin, the question is to rescind 24-63, which is to get 3 quotes. All those in favor?
Point of
The question's
information.
been called. Opposed? You're in the affirmative? Who's opposed? I didn't see which way you voted, Councillor Cromwell, I'm sorry.
Do we not have to have
I
a
need you to vote.
reconsideration before it can be?
Well, it depends which way you vote. I mean, if it's a overwhelming unanimous vote, then I think we can assume that that was a unanimous consent of council to do
Okay.
the other.
I will vote in the affirmative.
Okay, is there someone willing to move a motion? That motion to rescind 24-63 is adopted. Councillor Mins? Are you comfortable with the wording to direct admin to complete a third-party review as outlined by policy 2009 and report back to council? You bet. Well, can we? To direct administration to complete a third-party review as outlined by policy 2009 and report back to council. I would personally recommend against stuffing a date on there only because I think we've done that a lot when we weren't getting responses from administration. We've got an administration that's getting stuff done, and then I don't know that it's necessary to tie the CAO's hands with by April or by May, given the context. I'm not sure that it matters if it happens by June 1st or May 15th, but it's open to amendment. Councillor Mins, the floor remains.
Is it going to the committee of the whole?
Oh, so you wanted to report back to committee of the whole?
Committee of the whole or okay. It depends which way it's going.
Well, it's your motion. I'm happy to record it any way you want. And then I'll read it back for the recording secretary.
Let's put it by to county council by the first meeting in May. Can you do that?
CAO,
Would that
do you think
be
that's a timeline that's
feasible
suitable
or
for you?
not?
Is that, so just for clarification, is this the completed study? I don't know until I engage with someone to find out. I can certainly, I don't think that it's going to be a huge project. But I just can't confirm that. What I could probably do is certainly, once I've engaged someone, have them at least zoom into a meeting to talk to council about the review. So that he can explain his methodology, his or her methodology.
Okay,
Before that, like certainly in April.
yeah, okay, I'm good with that.
So what can you,
To the
to committee of the whole or to council?
let's go to council. Maybe the first meeting or the last meeting?
I'll always take the longer time frame, so
Okay.
that'd be the last meeting.
Okay,
So to
Last-
direct administration to complete a third-party review as outlined by policy 2009 and report back to council by the end of May.
and county council at the end of April.
May or April? May, you said, we're talking May.
No, well, I know I was talking May, but let's go April, because we could maybe get just to have them zoom in and let us know kind of what is going on with it.
So to the motion on the floor, and Councillor Means, you can speak first to this, direct administration to complete the third-party review outlined by policy 2009 and report back to council by the end of April 2024.
You betcha, yeah. And I think it's very important to have this review done, just due to the fact of it is a remuneration policy, so we'll get the review done and then we can have a look at it.
Councillor Holland, you're next.
Just to double check, because we've already done a passing of the terms of reference. We don't have to mention that because that is
I can't
already
see
up
why.
there. Okay, but just wanted to make sure, trying to make all of these motions as clear, and as,
Because
you
you're
know,
just, that was
precise as
just lining
possible.
up with the policy. Other comments, Councillors Holland or Cromwell, Gerlich, Kapitanek? Okay, if there's no further discussion, the motion on the floor is to direct administration to complete a third-party review as outlined by policy 2009 and report back to council by the end of April 2024. If you're ready for the question is on the adoption of that motion. All those in favor? And opposed? The count is 8-2 and the motion is adopted.
Can you
Sorry,
check that count again, please?
6-2.
Thank you.
6-2, yeah. I was thinking, how many are here? There's 8. And it's a majority. Okay, we can still live with 8-2. Either way, it's adopted. Okay, next item of business is 6.4. Councillor Anderson, you asked for this to be on the, or Councillor Kapitanek, I wrote, you asked for this to be on the agenda.
I would like to ask to table 6.4 till after lunch on the basis that I think it will be a lengthy, if not healthy discussion. And I don't feel like starting it with 5 minutes to spare. Does anybody else agree to that?
Is lunch here?
Kindly?
Okay, why don't we just break for lunch and not take that motion? And we'll break for lunch for
Okay,
it's 20, half an hour is so long, you guys. Is 20 minutes okay? 25
Reed?
minutes?
I think half an hour is appropriate, actually. Thank you.
Okay, let's have half an hour. That's good. Yeah, we got it. It is 27 minutes after. I'd like to reconvene the February 29th County Council meeting. Councillor Kapitanek, you put item 6.4 on the agenda. Are you prepared to move the recommended motion?
Yes, I would like to. Sorry. I would like to move that council deem the letter received from Aspen View Public Schools as a code of conduct complaint and direct administration to enlist a third-party investigator to investigate this matter.
Councillor Kapitanek has moved that council deem the letter received from Aspen View Schools as a code of conduct complaint and direct administration to enlist a third-party investigator to investigate the matter. Do you have any discussion?
No.
Is there any discussion on this matter? Councillor Holland, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I would actually like to take this item into closed for that discussion to happen, please.
There's a motion on the floor already. So there's a motion on the floor. Is there any other discussion? We can't have a competing motion. Councillor Anderson?
Thanks. I'd like to request a recorded vote.
Okay. So if there's no further discussion, the question is on the adoption of the motion. The council deem the letter received from Aspen View Public Schools as a code of conduct complaint and direct administration to enlist a third-party investigator to investigate the matter. All those in favor? Sorry, did you ask for a recorded vote? All those in favor?
Sorry. Thought it was for the reported vote.
Okay, opposed? Opposed are Hall, Kapitanek, Wallach, and Anderson. The motion is carried.
I thought we were voting on, I thought it was amendment, sorry.
The next item of business. Councillor Holland, sorry.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion, if I may, to have a terms of reference, councils create a terms of reference with regards to the third-party investigation.
We've never done that before. Okay. CAO, do you have any advice?
Mr. Chairman, I'm not familiar if terms of reference was prepared for the previous investigations that you might have undertaken. I can certainly check those files. I haven't exhaustively read any of those files. I'm going to be honest. So I don't know the background.
So Councillor Holland has made a motion to that council develop a terms of reference. To follow up with, Leah, what motion would that be, Ms. Blair? What motion did we just make? What was our motion number? Councillor Holland has made a motion to that council discuss or develop. Can you say your motion again, Councillor Holland?
I didn't write it down, but to have terms of reference determined by council for the third-party investigation. And I would assume we would do that in closed. I'm not sure about that.
Well, we've got a motion on the floor to develop a terms of reference for 24-89. I think we can talk about it to begin with. The code of conduct is actually fairly clear that the investigator investigate the complaint. The motion is clear. Like,
without breaching privacy, that conversation will be difficult to have.
Councillor, so that
I would argue that there's no named person in the complaint or a name of a complainant, so there's no privacy to breach.
There you go.
If I may, through the chair to Councillor Kapitaniak, because of it being no name on either side, the terms of reference would be important to have that conversation. And I would hazard to do that in open.
Councillor Anderson.
Thank you. I don't feel that council is prepared to just out of the blue develop the terms of reference when it wasn't an item on the agenda for today. We could possibly direct administration to provide us a draft terms of reference for a future meeting, but to sit down and close today and develop one would be I would be against that.
Other comments? I mean, honestly, the terms of reference are called the code of conduct. The code of conduct sets the terms of reference for handling these, and it seems like that's, to me, it's not even formally, but like it's not even properly before council, in my opinion, but given that we've passed the motion, we've got a code of conduct. And the code of conduct explains how that's to happen, and like, I think it's a waste of time. But I also agree that if we're gonna do it, then it should be something admin develops and brings back to us for discussion after we've had a chance to think about it. Is there any further discussion that we want to have on this? Councillor Holland.
With regards to that motion, I do believe we should determine that terms of reference as soon as possible. And it's not the terms of reference of the code of conduct bylaw, it's term of reference for the third party to investigate, so that we can cover all of our bases, being that there isn't a name associated. And the responsible party that is alluded to is not coming forward. So we need to establish how we move forward with our third-party investigator appropriately. And
Isn't
I'm
that up to the
assuming
investigator to
legally.
decide?
Is it possible to obtain advice from our CAO on how to proceed appropriately in a situation that we have here with regards to legal process, et cetera?
CAO Beck.
Well, it really depends if you want a terms of reference. What you're really asking for is what are the activities that the investigator is going to do to make sure that they've included certain activities that you want included. That's what I'm inferring. And don't skip certain steps that some on council would like to be included. Certainly, we can try to develop something if that's the will of council. If not, I'm certain if I reached out to an investigator to submit a proposal, it would probably be a good starting point for the activity list that they would do. And I could report back to council with a proposal from someone and let you review the proposal. Maybe that would expedite the matter instead of me drafting a terms of reference, bringing it here, you agree on it. Maybe I could reach out to an investigator. We'd like you to do the investigation. Please prepare a proposal based on the information I'm giving you, and we'll take it to council and see if they're okay with that.
Does that satisfy what you're looking for, Councillor Holland?
I think so, and that will also cover any legalities as well through the chair to CAO.
For me,
I'm sorry.
legalities?
Any legalities that we're running into, any issues, any concerns?
Of course,
legal
yeah, I mean,
protocols,
there's a
things.
code of conduct bylaw and they'd be following the Municipal Government Act in doing so. So they'd be following the law, absolutely.
Thank you.
So are you asking to withdraw your motion? So you've made a motion to develop terms of reference.
Right. So I guess it would be, is it a withdrawal or an amendment?
Well, why don't we start fresh? Is there unanimous
Okay,
consent to
we'll
withdrawing
start
that
fresh.
motion? Councillor Cromwell, is there unanimous consent to withdraw that?
Yes, and I do have another motion I'm going to be throwing out.
Okay. Okay, Councillor Holland. Floor remains yours.
To direct,
So Ms. Blair, that one will say is withdrawn with unanimous consent. Councillor Holland, the floor is yours.
I'm trying to figure out the best way to word this, and we'll ask for help with my colleagues, but to direct administration to obtain a proposal from the third party investigator for review by council on, do we have a date? Are we gonna? Is end of March CAO too soon for that proposal?
this meeting.
Mr. Chair, could you restate the question? Sorry.
Sorry, no
Struggling
worries.
to keep up with the motion.
Sorry, is it too soon, too quick of a time to ask for proposal for the end of March that we could be able to review?
Yeah, I can't guarantee that someone would get back to me. I just don't know.
Okay,
Until I've reached out to an investigator, yeah,
do we just list it as soon as possible or upon receipt or
absolutely.
as soon
Yeah.
as possible?
Can you state your motion again, please, Councillor Holland?
To direct, I apologize, I didn't write this down, so hopefully, are you able to read back what you have, please?
Moved by Counselor Holland to direct administration to obtain a proposal from a third-party investigator to be reviewed by council as soon as possible.
Does that sound fair, colleagues?
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to direct administration to obtain a proposal from a third party to be reviewed by council as soon as possible. Discussion? Councillor Anderson?
Thank you. I believe the motion on the floor is contrary to a motion that we just passed. The motion that was just passed was to direct administration to enlist a third-party investigator to investigate this matter. Now, if you're saying you already told him to enlist a third-party investigator to investigate, and now you're going back to, oh, we actually just want a proposal to review. I think the two motions are contrary and
I agree. The motion that's passed and on the floor is that council direct administration to enlist a third-party investigator to investigate this matter. I think it would be contrary to the rules that we have to propose a competing motion like that. I'm sorry, Councilor. You want to speak
I'm
to it
sorry.
again?
Yes, actually, I would like to challenge that. I don't see where it would be competing. If we have enlisted, if we're listing a third party, normally a proposal would come from that third party. There should be no reason why we shouldn't be able to review it. We're not saying that we're not going to do the investigation. We're just looking to look at the proposal that's coming forward by the third party. So I would challenge that.
So the Councillor Anderson raised a point of order that the motion is contrary to the rules because the motion competes with an existing motion that's on the floor. I'm the chair is of the opinion that the point is well taken and that it does compete. We have provided clear instructions in motion 2489 to enlist the third party to investigate the matter. And so Councillor Holland has appealed the decision of the chair. In the past, I phrased the question the negative. It actually, in further reading, I'll phrase it in the positive, but it requires a majority in the negative. So that means a tie sustains the decision of the chair. We don't tend to have ties when there's 9 people, but just so you know. So the question then is, shall the decision of the chair be sustained? Upheld. Okay. Opposed? And so the motion of the chair is sustained and the motion is out of order. What's next? Are we ready to move on?
I have a motion to make, please, Chair.
Okay, Councillor Cromwell. Say it slow so I can keep up, please.
Thank you. I think we've missed one very important step here. Is a letter was received on the 12th of February 2024. Today is the 29th of February 2024, and as a council, we have not made any acknowledgement officially to that party that made said complaint. Therefore, my motion is to direct administration to send a letter to Aspen View Public Schools indicating that Athabasca County Council takes all complaints appropriately and is proceeding with a formal code of conduct investigation based on the letter received on the 12th of February 2024, and inform them that a third-party investigator is being retained.
Can you provide that? I'm going to require that you provide that in writing to the secretary.
No problem.
If you can do that soon, and then the motion on the floor summarized is to direct administration to send a letter to Aspen View that the county takes all complaints seriously, appropriately.
Appropriately.
All
Ms.
complaints
Blair has the
appropriately.
motion.
And do you want to read it, Leah, or Ms. Blair, and then we'll. So the motion on the floor is, Ms. Blair,
Moved by Counselor Cromwell to direct administration to send a letter to Aspen View Public Schools indicating that Athabasca County Council takes all complaints appropriately and is proceeding with a formal code of conduct investigation based on the letter received on the 12th of February, 2024, and inform them that a third-party investigator is being retained.
on the question of that motion, is there any discussion? Counselor Holland, your hand looks like it's up.
I'm not really sure how we could add an amendment to this, but to request more information.
I think that would be done by the investigator,
Investigator?
and all we're doing is letting them know how and that we are proceeding, so that they officially know our stance on it, and therefore will cooperate how they deem fit after knowing the will of this council as a whole.
That's consistent with what we've done in the past. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, on the question of the adoption of the motion to send a letter to Aspen View as read previously by Ms. Blair, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay, the motion is adopted. We're ready to move on to 7.1. There is a bylaw in place. We had the public hearing earlier this morning. Is anyone prepared to move the recommended motion? Councillor Chamzik. Councillor Chamzik has moved second reading of bylaw 0142023 for the purpose to give second reading to the bylaw for the purpose of adopting the Gale outline plan. Is there any discussion on that? So I had a question if no one else does, and that's Director Wilkinson. The comments that came back from a couple of those parties about the wetlands, does that gets taken up again if there's any development or further subdivision, and so it's not something we need to deal with right now?
That's correct, yeah.
Is there any further discussion on that? Seeing none, on the question of the adoption of second reading of bylaw 0142023, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is adopted 9-0. Is there anyone willing to move third reading? Councillor Gerlich has moved third reading. Is there any discussion on third reading of bylaw 0142023? Seeing none, on the question of the adoption of third reading of bylaw 0142023, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is adopted 9-0. Seven point two is bylaw 0022024. This has been presented to you by administration to fix a problem. Unless there's a compelling reason, I guess I'm wondering if council has the appetite to follow our normal practice of initiating first reading only today, and then doing second and third readings at a subsequent meeting, which we've tended to do. Is anyone willing to move first reading? Councillor Cromwell?
I'm going to move first reading, but I do have one question for the chief through the chair.
So Councillor Cromwell has moved first reading of bylaw number 0022024. Councillor Cromwell, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Chief and team. Thank you very much for the bylaw here. I do have one question for you though, and this is more of a question on legality. All right, under 4.4 or 4 financial, these lights are purchased by volunteers for use in their personal vehicles. There'd be no operational cost to the county. Great. I know that Chief Kearney, previous chief for Grassland, had ordered through the fire department and has a large stock of those green lights. If they're being issued by the department, does that change any legality for us, for the department or for the county, as they are now supplied by the county versus being purchased individually?
Through the chair to Council Cromwell, thank you. There's actually no change in legality. There's no risk because these lights, if they're used as intended, there's, even if they should fail, you're still following all the traffic rules, laws, regulations. You're not, this isn't a red light emergency situation blowing through stop signs. So if the light should fail, you're still traveling the same speed, doing the same thing. It's just you've now lost that public education piece to what you're doing. So there's no risk to the organization should they be provided.
Thank you very much.
Other comments? Councillor Holland, the floor is yours.
Thank you. I didn't completely see inside the bylaw, but with regards to the financial comments, to say that these lights are purchased by volunteers for use in their personal vehicles. Being that this is something that is, safety oriented and it's something that is driven by the county for a response. I would hope that we could at least have those lamps, their expense reimbursed to the volunteers. So I'm not sure if that's something we can look at maybe in second or third reading, but I would definitely like to see that reimbursement to the volunteers for their expense for those lights.
Chief, would that be more of a policy and budget decision than a bylaw decision?
Mr. Chair, we'd have to do some looking into this as well because we do have quite a few members that already have these lamps. We've put a little bit of a moratorium on some departments were purchasing them prior. There was a misunderstanding that some folks believed we already had this bylaw. So we'd have to look into that a little bit because there are some members that already have different lights out there. And if we're going to afford for those moving forward, we'd have to try and look backwards as well. So we'd have to look at the impacts of that.
Other discussion? First reading is in front of us. Seeing none, on the question of the adoption of first reading of bylaw 002-2024, all those in favor? Opposed? The first reading is adopted. The count is 9-0. Are you satisfied to follow our current practice and wait and do this over 2 meetings? Chief Shalapai, is there any compelling reason why we should rush this through in 1 meeting?
Mr. Chair, there's no compelling reason to push this through at this time. There is one clerical error. The director just pointed out to me that we will have 1 amendment for the second reading.
I guess we're waiting.
Councillor Holland, thank you for being here and for presenting that. Councillor Holland, you put 8.1 on the agenda. Are you prepared to move the recommended motion and then ask questions?
Actually, no, I don't have a question. I would like to actually change the motion instead of say to accept, to receive the January operating statement as presented.
Councillor Holland has moved to receive the January operating statement as presented. Are there any questions? Councillor Gerlich, the floor is yours.
Yeah, when I was going through that, the income for water was half of what the expense was. I didn't understand why that would be. Is it just a book? Where are you at? I don't know where I'm at. Oh, here. The income is 60,000 and expenses 90.
That's a question for the director who's absent. The CAO maybe can help with that, but also remember this.
I'm gonna take a stab at it, I guess, on this answer, but I'll bring back a better answer. I would assume our invoicing is behind, but we're paying quickly, but our invoicing is a little bit behind on getting paid from others. That's my assumption. And I think I'll probably have to clarify that.
Okay, good. Just want to let you know that I read it.
Any further questions about the financial statement? I mean, I don't remember us approving a $4 million deficit, so I'm not sure the blue column is accurate, but I didn't take the time to compare this to my budget from our approved meeting, so.
And Mr. Chairman, you noticed, you noted to me that we haven't really attached statements of account before, and it's a practice we'd like to start doing so council sees where your money's at. So you could see, I mean, if we could provide a summary, that's fine too, but there's nothing like seeing the actual statement with all the numbers, with the account numbers blanked out. Then you could see our balances.
Counselor Cromwell, did you have a follow-up question?
No, thank you.
I mean, I personally would be satisfied with a single piece of paper that had a summary of the balances versus a bunch of our statement, but I think there's less chance we'll accidentally forget to blank something out and end up with a leak of an account number, but that's it's up to administration, in my view, to determine how best to present that. Is there any further discussion on this? Counselor Holland, do you want a closing comment?
Just to say that I appreciated seeing that in the agenda. So thank you for doing that.
On the question of the adoption of the motion to receive the financial report for information, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And the motion is adopted. The count is 9-0. Thanks, Councillor Wallach, for. Next item of business looks like it is 9.1A. Councillor, that's on page 96. Councillor Holland, you asked for this to be included on the agenda.
Thank you. Yes, in reading the letter, it of course mentions that the town has passed a motion with regards to the Water Coalition Spring Meeting on May 1st, and to provide funds up to $1,500 to come from grants to other organizations. So I guess for me, did we agree to partner with the town? And because I don't remember seeing a motion for that, but I could be wrong. And so just curious where we are with that, if we are partnering, and if we are looking at providing funds and where those funds would come from, et cetera, and what the appetite was here at the table.
Councillor Cromwell, you want to?
Thank you. Through the chair, to Councillor Holland, we did approve that pre-wildfire season last year, and it was postponed due to the heavy wildfire season and earmarked to happen the following year. Those funds were, I don't recall right now what the funds were the county put in. I'm going to say
I think it's 1,500.
I believe 1,500 does sound correct. Talk to my friends across the table here. But that was a motion of council to move ahead with that. And as they are a partner in that project, it is all the better to have them contribute to what we're doing with that.
Okay. Further questions? Is there someone willing to move to receive this for information? Councillor Cromwell? Councillor Holland, did you have any follow-up?
No, thank you. I just wanted to make sure it was on the books and that we were good to go.
On the question of the adoption of the motion to receive the council correspondence for information, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The count is 9-0 and the motion is adopted. We are at number 9.2, calendars. Why don't we start? I think last time I started with Councillor Minns. Councillor Cromwell, do you want to have anything to add or comment on with the calendars?
It is a very good looking calendar here. I don't think I have anything to add. We have the RMA and the EOEP, our drought workshop. I think everything is on here that we got going on. I'm happy.
Councillor Gerlich? Nothing to add, he says. Councillor Kapitanek? Mike? Mike, just for Councillor.
Village of Boyle has set the Joint Recreation Committee meeting for April 30th at 7 PM in Boyle.
Joint Rec Committee meeting, April 30th, 7 PM in Boyle.
That's all I have.
That's it this time. Councillor Anderson?
Thank you. I just noted that the calendar has a multiplex meeting scheduled for March 11th as well as March 18th, and that committee meeting is on March 11th. Thank you.
So delete the one on the 18th. I have nothing to add at the moment. Councillor Chamblick?
Boyle Library will be meeting on the 19th. I will not be able to attend due to RMA, and then the town the 21st of March. And FCSS should be meeting April 15th. Thank you.
So that is Boyle Library on March 19th, Town Library on March 21, and FCSS on April 15. Councillor Holland?
Thank you. I would like to see if there's appetite for policy review on April 10th.
Is there,
Start on my side then. I
is
have
there
nothing
appetite
going
for
on
a
that day.
policy review on the tenth? Sorry, I just want to. Counselor Chamzik, do you have a comment on that?
I would be available if need be. Have something exact, but I can wait.
Counselor Chamzik has a conflict. I also have a conflict on that day, but.
I'm good for the tenth. I
Oh.
just forgot about another.
Oh, can you then say it louder, please? I'm sorry.
I'm good for the tenth. I just forgot about another meeting in April.
Do you want to? Okay, I'll come back to you for that one. So Counselor, the chair is asking for a policy review on the tenth. Nine thirty? Counselor Mittens?
Okay, so we got the Regional Water Commission meeting on March fifth has been canceled and moved to March 21st. And it'll be a governance regarding the governance meeting. Alice meeting April 3rd. And Athabasca Watershed Council meeting April 18th. So we've got cancel the Water Commission on the 5th, add Water Commission on the 21st of March, Alice on April 3rd, and Watershed on April 3rd. Councillor Chamzik, you had one more you wanted to add, or sorry, on April 18th, Watershed on April 18th.
No, April 12th, Northern Lights Executive Meeting.
April 12th, Northern Lights Executive Meeting. Any second, Councillor Wallach, do you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, March 25th, the Healthcare Retention Committee, please.
March 25th, Healthcare Retention Committee. Okay. Councillor Gerlich.
I've got FCSS down for the 8th of April.
Oh, you know what, Mr. Gerlach, you are correct. When I looked at it, I looked at the second week and I missed the first. Thank you for that correction.
I'm right, you are wrong.
FCSS is on the 8th.
As well as Blue Heron.
And Blue Heron is also on the 8th.
Thank you for that correction.
You're quite welcome. Any further additions or deletions? It's in order to receive a motion to.
Mr. Chairman.
Yep.
We confirm that Boyle and Athabasca could attend a governance refresher on April 4th, right?
Okay. Governance refresher on April 4th. Thank you for scheduling that.
We haven't established
work
that
on
yet. I'm sorry, we'll figure that out.
Save the day. All of it.
And then in subsequent, we'll probably be reaching out to you by Doodle or something else to get a date for strat priorities just with this council. It's 1-day session.
Do you, through the chair to the CAO, do you think that'll take the full day?
Yes.
Probably.
Likely, but
Yeah.
okay. We do have an MPC meeting scheduled on the 23rd, just saying.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, it also depends on when our consultant can
So
be
we'll,
here.
we'll wait for you to come back to us with some dates. Okay. So we've added a governance refresher on the 4th of April. Any further additions or deletions? Councillor Cromwell has moved the adoption of the calendars as amended, but one more chance to change or add. Seeing none on the question of the adoption of that motion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The motion is carried. The count is 9-0. The next item of business is number 12. It would be in order to receive a motion to enter closed session. Councillor Chamzik has moved. Is there any discussion? Seeing none. On the question of the adoption of the motion to go to closed session, all those in favor? Count is 9-0 and opposed, sorry. Count is 9-0. And the motion is adopted.